My name is Sarah from Lothian and welcome to Craftivism 101.
Rosie the Riveter.
So this is a really important chat we should have before we launch into making works. Problematic symbol. It's important to educate yourself on the symbols that you choose to use in your activism, about their history and how they're used currently, to ensure you're representing the issues you're passionate about properly. The general problem with symbols is that they inevitably boil down a complex issue into a simple single icon, which doesn't leave room for nuance. There are a few symbols in use throughout the craftivism community today which are particularly divisive, and so I'm going to talk about those in this episode. The first one we're going to look at is the pink pussy hat movement, which was a global movement earlier this year and continues to be a rallying point for some people. While some people have found the imagery of this handmade pink beanie empowering, and it has offered a lot of mostly white women a pathway into activism, it has also been derided as an exclusionary symbol. Some people feel that the choice of the colour pink in this item is based on skin colour, and that excludes black and brown people from its rallying cry. The originators of the symbol, Krista Sue and Janus Wyman, talk about their choice of the colour pink on the project's website, stating, "Pink is considered a very female colour, representing caring, compassion and love, all qualities that have been derided as weak, but are actually strong. Wearing pink together is a powerful statement that we are unapologetically feminine and we unapologetically stand for women's rights. We chose the colour pink for the pussy hat because pink is associated with femininity. We did not choose the colour pink as a representation of some people's anatomy. Anyone who supports women's rights is welcome to wear a pussy hat. It doesn't matter if you have a vulva or what colour your vulva may be. If a participant wants to create a pussy hat that reflects the colour of her vulva, we support her choice." Although there have been pussy hats made of other colours, black, brown, rainbow and in the trans pride colours, just to name a few, it cannot be ignored that the vast majority of pussy hats are pink, and this is problematic for many women of colour. This episode was, in part, sparked by an article written by Julia Phillies for the website Medium, entitled An Open Letter to the Craftivism Movement, link in the description below, in which she calls out craftivism for being too white-centric, and ignoring how harmful projects like the Pink Pussy Hat movement are for women of colour and trans women. In a Facebook comment in the ensuing discussion, she writes, "It has nothing to do with being offended by everything. It has to do with fighting for white folks to finally recognise black and brown humanity and how hurtful your complete disregard for us is. I and other black and brown people live in a white supremacist society where we are disregarded, treated like we are subhuman and even murdered for the colour of our skin. A goddamn pussy hat is a slap in the face. As I prepare myself to walk out the door, knowing the chances that I will be followed around a shop, ignored when I need help, spoken down to, assumed I'm just a refugee or a Mexican taking someone's job, disrespected, assumed I am my own children's nanny, refused service, etc. is 100% sure to happen just for the colour of my skin. So excuse me for trying to bring up very real issues and how the craftivist movement has added to mine and others' oppression. Other people point out that not all women have vaginas and that some men do, so using the term pussy excludes many transgender folk. Caitlyn Burns, a trans woman writing at the website The Establishment, talks about the pussy hat movement, saying, "Each time this rhetoric is used, I am reminded of my assigned gender at birth. I'm not sure other people protesting are even aware of how their protest symbols enforce the damaging idea that gender is defined by genitals. I understand the impulse to use your vagina as your protest image, especially in the face of a president-elect who has boasted about grabbing vaginas, and an administration seemingly hell-bent on stripping women of their reproductive rights. But the fact of the matter is, when you do so, you subtly let trans women know that their place isn't in your protest. You're letting trans men know that you don't see their gender because your idea of gender is seemingly based exclusive on genitalia. Wearing pussy hats or chanting about vaginas lays out a hierarchy based on genitals that is exclusionary and painful." As Caitlyn says, it's not just about pussy hats, but using vagina and ovary imagery in protests. The contemporary radical feminist movement believe that transgender women are not really women and use vagina imagery specifically to exclude trans women. Now we're going to chat about the raised fist symbol. It is true that the raised fist symbol has been used by a variety of movements around the world, including communism, the Workers of the World from 1917, fighters in the Spanish Civil War in the 1930s, and separatists fighting the Ukraine government in 2015. However, it's most commonly associated with the Black Power movement in America and the Black Panther Party, an American revolutionary party founded in 1966 by Huey Newton and Bobby Seale, which was originally formed to patrol black neighbourhoods protecting the citizens from police brutality. Because of this association, some people believe that white people should never use the raised fist symbol, that it's for use by the black community or only the African American community. This includes the raised fist symbol inside the women's symbol. It is believed that African American women first placed these two symbols together, incorporating the black pride fist with a women's symbol in the late 60s. This photo is from 1969 and shows a women's liberation group marching in protest in support of the Black Panther Party. Tumblr user Black Magical Girl Misandry, now defunct, writes, "This symbol does not represent mainstream feminism. This is the symbol for black feminism that black feminists have created and have been using for decades to represent our struggle against anti-black misogyny, hence the combination of the black power fist and the symbol for womanhood. So stop tattooing yourself with this symbol and selling overpriced patches and pins on Etsy. You are appropriating and profiting off the work of black feminists. Work that we have dedicated our lives to create and sustain, even though we are constantly erased from history. Respect our community, respect our activism, and stop spreading false information that distorts our history." Lindsey Weedstone, who runs the fully inclusive website Not Sorry Feminism, is here talking to other white feminists when she says, "I'm not saying and have never said that no raised fist iconography can be used by people who are not black. However, especially us US-based white people, we need to be careful about that use, and at the very least acknowledge the Black Power movement and its iconic use of the raised fist. Even if they didn't invent it, we have a very specific history in this nation surrounding our treatment of black people and our ongoing horrific attempts to crush the Black Power movement. The meaning of symbols can evolve over time. Things that were created with one specific aim in mind can evolve to become the rallying cry of a very different set of people." Let's talk about Rosie the Riveter. Rosie the Riveter has been embraced by feminists all over the globe as a symbol of women and their strength. Although mostly recreated using the original white Rosie, there are Rosies of colour out there, including this famous photo of Beyoncé and this awesome image of diverse feminism. However, the idea of Rosie the Riveter was originally created as wartime propaganda to get women working in factory jobs, building munitions and military vehicles, as well as other essential items. These jobs were originally held by men, but as the war progressed and more men were called up to serve, the job still needed doing, and the government needed to encourage housewives to start the work. The first use of the term Rosie the Riveter was in a wartime song in 1942 about a tireless assembly worker named Rosie who does her bit for the war effort. I've linked to the song in the description. The image itself was not of a Rosie. It was originally created as World War II propaganda by the company Westinghouse, and it was originally designed to motivate employees and raise morale. It was only displayed for 2 weeks in their factories around the country. In the 1980s, the image was rediscovered and linked with the name Rosie the Riveter. I'm really interested in the way that people reclaim words and ideas that were historically created to cause hurt and insult. Words like witch, queer, fag, and the N-word. It can be argued that feminism has reclaimed Rosie from her war propaganda roots and instead use her to celebrate the strength of women. But then it's got to be asked, can a symbol ever be truly isolated from its roots? No matter how strong and powerful she's perceived now, can Rosie's propaganda roots ever be forgiven? And that's the thing about symbols. They're such simple iconography, but can mean such different things to different people. Having seen this work by Julia Phillies earlier in the year, I decided to stop using the pink pussy hat symbolism. I acknowledge that a lot of women of colour and trans women don't feel included in this symbol, and so I stopped using it. The sticker was still on my laptop for a while, and you can see it in older Craftivism 101 videos, but I've replaced it with others now. I want my feminism and my activism to be inclusive and intersectional, fighting for everyone. This is why it's important to research the symbols you plan to use in your activism. Know where they came from, who created them, and understand any issues and problems there are surrounding them, so that you know what you're using and why. So now that you're all prepped with creative activism history and craftivism now, and you've got your cause and the symbols you want to use, next fortnight we're starting on the tutorials, how to use different crafts to raise your voice and promote your cause. Yay!